Hi,
Hello,
I'm Julian.
and I am Tom.
We are Team Binge. We are here to talk about Smoke, Season 1, Episode 7. This episode is called Whitewashed Tombs. Tom, I feel pretty confident that I don't have to say Season 1. I think we all kind of know. But I got to be honest. I'm in on this show. It's insane. I'm enjoying it. A lot's happening. It's rare that a show will keep you on your toes and you're just kind of like, wait, what? Why is that? But still enjoying it. Like, it's well shot. It's well acted. Well, it's well acted for what they're trying to do. Turns out Tiegi doesn't want to be Bond, which after watching this show, I find that surprising. But Tom, how'd you like episode 7?
I don't know what's real anymore.
Sure.
I thought I had a beat on this show of like what they were going to try to do with the storytelling bit, but we find out in this episode that everything we've seen, I guess, is real.
You're talking about, by everything, you're talking about the end of the last episode where he heroically uses the fire extinguisher. In your brain, you were like, oh, this has got to be a book thing.
Yeah.
You
And
feel
maybe, again, maybe like this stuff did happen, but it's just stylized for the show. But like,
yeah.
I just felt so much of this stuff was just in his head, and I don't know what they're going to do here. I also feel like I'm with you. I still am enjoying this show, but like I've turned my brain off of saying like this is like prestige television, because it is not, in my opinion. And I just think the way a lot of these characters are acting, it just doesn't make sense. Like their motivations don't make sense, why they would do these things, why Ezra still seems to be heavily involved and seemingly leading this investigation. I've got questions about.
Esposito is currently the chief of the ATF. He's been promoted all the way up to just running the ATF, the FBI. He definitely is a political appointee at this point, which makes sense for the time we're in. So I'm with you there. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm still having fun with it. This is a fun show to podcast for sure, to kind of talk through. I still give it up to the actor who's playing Freddy. Like, he deserves all the Emmys. He is just beyond creepy and fantastic in this show. When he got to finally meet with Dave, I thought that was some cool back and forth, which we'll get to. But yeah, I don't know. We got 2 more episodes left. I'm still expecting some big twist, but I don't know what kind of twist that they can do now that would be satisfying to kind of button up the insanity that we've had thus far.
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah, I'm still on the fence as to whether or not our guy Dave Goodson is actually an arson, because the show is just doing some things where it's like, oh, well, clearly he is. But then they always like pull back at the brink before he admits it. And so you're kind of like, okay, so what is the show trying to tell me? But let's dive into it. I think for a show that is, as you pointed out, not prestige, they go pretty hard on some subjects, and you're kind of like, no. Like, know what you are. Like, that's what I would say about the show. It does not know what it is. It's like, thinks it's prestige, but it is just kind of like soap opera, overacting, like over dramatic, not garbage, but it should be fun. So when they start an episode and they're like, hey, don't kill yourself, you're about to see someone kill themselves, you're like, okay, show, like, let's pump the brakes and not take ourselves too serious. But
well, and even that whole last scene where we get Freddy taking his own life, like, it just
unnecessary.
Like, it didn't flow. Yeah, it was unnecessary. We already knew he was kind of like going down that hole, and like, yeah, it was like, I just don't know how to feel about the character, right? Like, he's a murderer, and we've confirmed that he is a murderer, but he's obviously a man with mental illness and having these kind of thoughts and terrible stuff. It's like, I don't know what the show is trying to tell us we're supposed to think about this character.
Yeah. We're anti-suicide on this podcast, but if you're going to murder and then suicide, we always recommend switching the order. Suicide first, and then go about your murders. That's kind of where we're at as a group here. So I don't mean to make light of it, but when that felt like the director had a vision and was like, I'm going to come in and just, people are going to, this is like Emmy, daytime Emmy, obviously. But it was just, I was like, really? This is what we're doing? This show is have you guys seen what Tiegi is doing? Like,
Exactly. They do this like cinematography of like looking at his eyeball and like you're seeing the reflection of his past and all that stuff. It's like, yes, that is cool for a different show, not this one.
Exactly. Yeah. I completely agree. All right, let's dive into it. So this one starts off with Calderon because she found out that her mom is being released. So she's having, a moment with this. And who does she reach out to but one Rafe Spall, Chief Police Steve. And I couldn't tell if Steve actually cared or if Steve just wanted to show up late at night and spend some time with Michelle. But he seemed really disappointed when she turned down his visit. But I mean, once again, they have a very dramatic and important conversation. But until they tell me more about what's happening in this storyline, I don't really care, if I'm being honest.
Right.
They hint at a bunch of stuff, but then they've kind of taken Calderon out of the investigation and given us more Esposito. And so it's like, why are we spending time on this storyline? I'm sure it's all going to come to fruition at the lake house. Her mom's going to show up. All of the arsonists are going to gather at the lake house. But I did not, other than some interesting dialogue and then trying to remind us of Steve and Michelle's, I don't know. The involvement of Steve makes me think, is Steve the arson? What's arsonist? What's going on with Steve? Why do we keep bringing him back into this in such important ways?
Yeah, it was interesting to see that dynamic play out a little bit more because you thought it was just kind of like a friends with benefits kind of thing, but they seem to be much closer than they let on in the beginning. And I'm with you about the whole Calderon and her mom thing. They're trying to make this seem like this biggest mystery or whatever, and it's like, just show us what happened or tell us what happened. But they're clearly holding on to that for the penultimate or the finale, I guess. But you do get some good dialogue, I think, from Steve where he's talking about, and it's very heavy-handed here, people create stories to deny that they are bad people, or they hold up a mirror and they cover it up because they're embarrassed by them. Michelle is reading this as oh, this is who I am. But as an audience, this is clearly Dave. Dave is literally writing a book to try to tell a different story about his life. He literally looked in the mirror and saw a different person in the last episode. So very heavy-handed parallels to Dave, not necessarily Michelle.
Yeah, as someone who is just super hyper self-aware as well as extremely humble, I didn't really understand this conversation. So
yeah,
I just kind of ignored it and moved on.
One might say superior.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But superior in a humble way. You know what I'm talking about, Tom. So we then, once again, we stick with Calderon. We go to breakfast. I did not appreciate, the shots taken on healthy breakfasts. I think breakfast is the third most important meal of the day, and very delicious. But this is the conversation. This is the sister-in-law about essentially, hey, Calderon saying, do you want your kid around this woman that definitely or maybe or didn't try and kill me when I was younger? It's wait, no, what happened? Did she try and kill you? Because she says something earlier in the episode, Calderon does, where she's like, oh, my family's making me out to be the bad guy. Well, if you were almost burnt alive and murdered, you're definitely not the bad guy. So what isn't the show telling us? Help me out here, show.
Yeah, I'm with you, and they just play it so hard about hey, don't tell me what to do. She's my daughter, which is certainly a fair thing to say. But then the very next scene that we see with the sister-in-law is her asking her husband about this, and the husband's like, no, I guess I wouldn't leave my mom alone with her child. It's why are we having this conversation now? And maybe you should have had it before you thought about releasing your mother from prison.
I agree. And he makes some comment oh, that's Michelle working on you, she's needling her way in, but she's not wrong. It's a good question. Do you want someone that's been put away for, honestly, we don't know what the crime is. We're assuming murder and arson. But yeah, I don't know. I also,
listen, maybe a 12-year-old Michelle Calderon is the one that set the fire and was doing the murdering, and then the mom took the rap for it. So Calderon now doesn't want the mom to get out and tell the true story.
That's fair. Maybe Calderon's the arson. Arsonist. I agree, Tom. You're right. I do the sister-in-law calls her a Karen. She's don't tell me how to parent my kid. And I really think we need to reclaim the word Karen because I don't think shows are using it in the right way. It means it's not a catch-all. So anyways, as a Karen myself, I think we should
take it back.
Yeah, and be humble about it, but superior at the same time. All right, our first scene with Goodson in this episode is he's on like Good Morning Orrington, which once again not a real place, but I love it. And he is the hero arsonist investigator. And honestly, I love Tiegi as the hero that's just like loving the limelight. I really do love this.
Like the little chirons on the bottom is like hero investigator catches arsonist, and then the person asks him about, oh, you're writing a novel, and then the chiron on the bottom changes to like hero investigator / novelist. Like it's all just brilliant.
Now,
but this is again where I'm a show watcher. I'm like, how is this real life? How is he on like the morning news the next day having this conversation? Like this just doesn't make any sense in the real world.
Yeah, the time of all of us certainly doesn't make any sense because you do feel like it's the next day, but a lot has happened and a lot is not communicated. You're telling me he went on that morning show before he went back to the office and talked to Michelle? You have a spouse formerly of the news cycle. Mm-hmm. Was she interested in? Did she have stories about having hero arsonist investigator on the day after they saved someone with a fire extinguisher?
She didn't, but she was the one that immediately called out the chiron, the little thing on like the bottom that says the little deal. She called out that like, oh, that wouldn't change that quickly.
I love that her producer brain still works that way. She's like still great. Catching. Oh, that's so good. The thing I found most unrealistic about this whole thing was the literary agent remembering Dave Goodson's name as if every query letter they get, they know who sends them in. Once again, I find the literary agent of this show the most like engaged and over the top literary agent. I think these people get so many letters they don't remember a single person that sends it in. But
and like she didn't read any of it, right? It was like the intern or this other guy up front that apparently she throws staplers at on a regular because there's a bunch of like marks and dents in the wall. Like it seems to be an HR nightmare. But again, this to me it just seems like so over the top, and like this doesn't exist. I can't imagine in the real world nowadays.
I don't know. Maybe small town Orrington has like this high powered literary agent who's getting away with all those stapler injuries. Uh-huh. I could not figure out. Like I was like, okay, stapler on the ground, but was she trying to hang something? She like had a picture from her kid, and she was trying to, and it was out of staples, so she just kept hammering it into the wall. I was very confused.
So silly.
All of this to cut back to Goodson juggling on live television, which
you know that common phrase.
Of it.
Yeah, when life gives you lemons, you juggle them.
Oh, just incredible.
It's like Tiegi had that talent. He's like, hey, writers, I can juggle.
Yeah.
You guys got to get juggling in here because I will impress.
I'm going the other way, Tom. He didn't know how. They broke from shooting so he could take 6 months to go learn to juggle, like a Tom Cruise-esque.
Juggling camp?
Yeah, he went to juggling camp. When they're doing the interviews to promote this show, he was just like, listen, I went to arsonist investigation school for about 30 minutes, but then I took a 6-month juggling course. And I think you're going to find that really comes into play with my character. Just
wait till he starts juggling balls on fire later.
Yeah, exactly.
He combines them.
Exactly. To your point about timing, we then cut to the Dream Team, and they're all in the same conference room watching this interview. We have not talked to Dave Goodson after this event. He went on live television first. Like, what is happening here, ATF? Like, what are we doing? This is so confusing.
It's just, again, that's why I'm like, just talk about like the general writing and character developments. Like none of this just makes sense if you take 2 seconds to kind of dissect it. Which when I thought it was like him telling the story and overemphasizing all this stuff, I thought like you can breeze past that. But the way they're presenting it here, especially when the Dream Team sees it on TV, I threw my hands up in the air. I'm like, what is going on? How is this really happening?
I love that you threw your hands up in the air. This show is written as if Ezra Esposito wrote the show. That's like the consistency. There's like a drug-addled craziness to it that, once again, I'm all for. Love drugs.
He is a filmmaker. I mean, I don't know. Maybe that's going to be the thing. We're going to zoom out.
And play in this episode, which I did not expect that would come back, but it did. Once again, we just want to state, why is Ezra in this room? Why is he seemingly like part of the investigation team. I love that. I mean, I gotta think John Leguizamo was like on set for a day, and he's like, "I'd like to stick around," and they're like, "Okay, you're gonna leave."
I like the
things."
craft services.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Oh man. All right. There's something that is also brought up, and I think it's just a story writing thing because it comes. They're like, "Hey, we want to remind you about the old Soli fire," and then there's this moment where there is supposed to be a picture of barbecues blocking an exit and then not blocking an exit, and this has been part of Goodson's like presentation, and Michelle's like, "Oh no, that's definitely like a picture I've seen." And the ATF lady's got all the pictures memorized, and she's like, "No, there's no picture like that." So I didn't know if the show was just bringing back the old Soli fire in order to, because it's called back later on at the dinner scene, or whether or not this is just another thing the show is trying to poke us and be like, "See, Dave Goodson set that one up too," and the only reason he would have pictures is because he's the arsonist. And so, once again, sloppy enough that I did not know what the show was trying to tell me.
Yes, I would agree. I was very confused by this. I thought about rewinding it, but I'm like, nah.
Yeah. Good. Speaking of people rewinding things, the literary agent calls the chief. Why, Tom? Why does the literary agent call chief? Why is Greg Kinnear taking that phone call? I don't understand. And they're like, "Oh, we're going to send some cops to your location." What? Why?
Yeah. Why would you call his place of work? How did you get the chief's phone number? Because this
His
is the
cell
chief's
phone.
cell phone.
Yes.
Yeah. This isn't the office. They're not in the office. And then, again, all of it is just, it makes zero sense if you stop and think about it, which it's got to be storyism somehow. I don't know. I'm waiting for a cool twist.
Yeah, no, there's going to be a cool all of the time we've spent on this, Tom, is going to pay off. There is no way it doesn't. There is no way it doesn't. What I am surprised that this show isn't in the, well, obviously it's not in the media because Apple doesn't care about it, but I do think it's funny there aren't a bunch of stories about like, hey, it's like shot like this because, I don't know, Tiegi had a drug problem and we could only get John Leguizamo for an afternoon, and I think we just had to splice it all together. But no, I think this was actually, they had the time and the energy, and this is the product they produced. They're proud of this, That's why Apple didn't advertise it. Still loving it. I want to point out to all of those people listening, still enjoying it. Goodson, now a hero, as one does, goes and visits his wife, who he screamed at most recently and definitely wanted a divorce. And he's just like, "Hey, I'm making you breakfast because I'm a hero now."
Yeah, very, very nice meal. But like, the back and forth. She's like, "No, we meant what we said." And then again, Dave, he kind of does what we're going to find out later in the episode, where he kind of has this two-face kind of bit where he comes in like super hot, screams at her, but then immediately tries to like kind of calm down and say, "Hey, baby, we still love each other." But yeah, appreciate Ashley saying, "Yeah, stuff's in the garage, get out of here."
Listen, as a pseudo divorce lawyer, which obviously I'm against divorce in all manners, stay married till you die. She should at least stick around until he gets the advance on the book, and then take half of it, and then kick him out of the house.
That's fair. Smart.
She's gonna want that $33,000. You know what I mean? Which is half.
Well, she is a librarian. Maybe she can be like his agent or something. I don't know. I don't know how librarians work.
Yeah, I mean, she's already. It's gonna be tough sitting in that room being like, "Listen, my husband's a terrible writer, but I would like you to pay us because I'm a librarian. I read his book and it is bad." They're like, "Oh, we just listened to it." She's like, "Oh, you got your hands on the audiobook. That makes sense.
It's gonna cost you extra.
Oh, golly. All right, Freddy's in custody. He's not very chatty.
No.
He's being Freddy, and you're just like sad for Freddy, and he asks who the investigator is that caught him. And these cops are just like, "Dave Goodson, do you want his home address? Would you like to know what he's allergic to? deadly allergic to peanuts and fire. So if either of those things are something you care about, please go visit Dave Goodson at his home. And I don't know if it's in this moment, but there is also a conversation about a glove being left at a scene, which I believe leads to Freddy asking about the investigator. Mm-hmm. And all of that tips us off to the conversation between Dave and Freddy. But, like, did you note that? Why did he want to know Dave's name? Because it was very pointed in the conversation that they bring up there was some evidence that this investigator found at a fire at, like, such and such place. And that's all of a sudden when, like, Freddy awakens and starts asking questions. Did you catch that at all?
Yeah, and, like, listen, they may go back and maybe this is a brilliant twist and it ties it all together, but for me, I don't think any of it mattered. I think it was like a loose reason just to try to get Freddy and David in the same room so they can have a conversation, which was fun for, like, the show perspective, but yeah, I don't think any of the logic makes sense for this. And, like, I had a moment where he asked what the name was, and when, like, the detective, like, leans in and then slowly says David Goodson, I thought for a moment they were going to say, like, Donald Jameson or whatever, like the name of the character from the book. And I'm like, oh, that would have been a cool moment to be able to say, like, he's a different person or whatever to these guys' eyes. But no, it was just, nope, Dave Goodson, you're going to meet up with him later.
If they would have said that, I would have been so confused, Tom, because I did not know what his name was in the book.
They mentioned it later, but yeah, exactly. They didn't do enough groundwork for it.
Oh, even later, I was like, wait, which character are they talking about? And then through context, I had to be like, oh, because they're trying to pin Dave down. Donald must be his character name. Mm-hmm. I've never been confused by this show once, Tom. I know exactly what's happening. I'm on a speeding bullet train to the conclusion, and everything makes sense.
Well, his full name was Donald D. Uck.
Terrible. Oh no.
Sorry, I'm a dad.
Jimmy, cut that out. We don't do puns on this show. Okay, so Dave gets back to the office, and everyone is cheering for him. Everyone is cheering, and Calderon is, like, out of character, like, fawning over him.
So playing it up, yeah.
I was like, Calderon, like, be better at being a detective.
Pump the brakes.
Like, what are you doing here? And Tom, have you ever walked into any place and had people cheering and celebrating you? Have you ever experienced that in your life?
I mean, maybe a birthday when I was like 12, but no, not as an adult, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I got a fire extinguisher more people. I guess that's the thing.
Yeah. No. Definitely that will lead to more crowds gathering around you, I'm sure. Thanks for asking, Tom. My experience with this is I will make my story short, and maybe I've told this already. But in high school, on the football team, I broke my leg. Long story short, it was broken, even though my parents just thought it was a sprain. Anyways, I showed up to practice like a couple of days later on crutches, and as I crutched over to where the rest of the team was gathered, they all started clapping. And in my head, I was like, oh, this is incredible. They're all clapping for me.
I'm
they
a hero.
Feel bad. I'm a hero. Yeah. But then I realized before every practice, before stretching, they would clap to get into rhythm, and then they would start the stretches. So the clapping was not about me. No one noticed I was there. And I was shortly off the team, no longer attending practices. So that's been my experience being celebrated by a group of people clapping, Tom.
This has been, I'd imagine festering for quite a while. So I'm glad you found the forum to be able to get it out.
Yeah. No, this.
And I'm sure I was one of those guys clapping. I did play
definitely were. I was like, oh, my buddy Tom, he started the clap. No, just trying to get everyone ready to touch their toes and do some jumping jacks. All right.
Incredible.
We have...
By the way, I'm so glad I asked.
Yes. You did a great job. Thanks. You're an incredible podcast partner. Esposito, Steve, VP Amy from The Veep show up, ATF, to talk to the literary agent. And they're trying to convince her to, like, go undercover to get Dave Goodson to admit, like, why in the world would Dave, while pitching a book, lean into this lady and be like, hey, by the way, I actually set the fires, but I think, that gives this book some realism. don't send me to jail, give me money and publish my book. Like, why in the world would why would they think she is the conduit in order to get a confession out of him? This is not how literary agents work, Tom.
Well, I don't know if you know, literary agents are some of the world's best negotiators. So she did a great job negotiating with Steve here.
She didn't. No, she didn't. She wanted something. Steve goes, never mind. He got up to leave, and then she backed down. I would argue Steve is the better negotiator. Steve should be the literary agent. Steve should not be a cop. He should not be a chief of police. He should be the world's best literary agent. He did incredible.
I mean, great. He did the walking out tactic, which worked very well. But she still seemed to get what she had wanted. Maybe a little bit less, but she still got quite a bit. But she lays it out as like, hey, why would I do this? Now I'm going to be on this dude's list that might get parole and might potentially murder me. Like, throws it all out there. But then she gets the book rights, so now she's good to go. And like even the conversation they're having later, like I get from the Dream Team's perspective, they're trying to get some incriminating evidence, but I don't know what could have been said in that conversation that would have been admissible in court unless he says exactly what you just said. Hey, by the way, the reason why this is so authentic is because I did it.
Yeah, it was me the whole time. Do you still want to publish my book? If not, I'm going to burn your house down. Like,
it reminded me of, what was that SNL skit where like Tim Meadows is playing O.J. Simpson and he's like writing on the telestrator talking about the play. And as he's like moving the guys around and circling, he's like spelling out, I did it.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Oh, man. All right. Our two supposed arsonists, once again, they're innocent until proven guilty in our court of law. But the two arsonists, seeming arsonists, get together. We have Goodson and Freddie. And these two, I think in another life, would have been very close, just like the best of friends. They would have been an incredible arsonist investigating duo.
That's a spin-off show.
That is a spin-off show. Trademark. Can't take it from us. It's our idea. Goodson spends most of his time bragging at Freddie and then being kind of racist. He's like, I thought you would have a fro or something. And I was like, all right, Dave. Like, you're already super unlikable. You don't need to be more unlikable. And then Freddie, and forgive me, I don't remember the actor's name, gives the performance of a lifetime, where he becomes just the creepiest of gentlemen. And he's like, I tried to make this into a song. He was like, who gave you the whole maggots in a dead bird? That's your soul. Like, it almost rhymes. Who was she? Your mother? Why didn't she love you? Like, I don't know. I as an actor, and this is why I'm not an actor, I would have made this into a song. This guy did a much better job of just being super menacing.
Yeah, and just his stares that he's given, and he does that, like, draws out the line of, like, you're in a big hole. Like, actor, incredible, and great performance, even though his character is just super weird and seems to be in the wrong show. But they do this, the bit about his mother clearly rattles Goodson here. And he makes a mention of, like, what you and me have, she recognized it. She could smell it on you. And I felt it was just a little weird that, like, Freddie has seemingly this superpower where he can tell that Dave is also an arsonist. Like, he could just see through him. Like, I don't know what Dave is giving off that Freddie is picking up, because I'm struggling.
You don't think that criminals of a like kind can, like, notice criminals of the same ilk? Like,
but he doesn't know this guy. Like, he has no idea who this guy is. Like, do you think the way he got caught with the glove or whatever is saying, oh, this guy must be an arsonist because of the way he caught me?
I know that when I walk into, like, a party, I always know who the other, like, people that lied on their taxes are. Because as someone who obviously is a tax evader, and the IRS doesn't listen, so it doesn't matter. I certainly don't report the income from this podcast. Joke's on them. They're missing out on dollars and dollars. But I just want to say, I think that's what it is. It's like arsonists, like, game recognizes game, Tom. Arsonists recognize arsonists. Like, it's the same thing with people that cheat on their taxes. You know what I'm talking about. You're a guy that, like, parks illegally. So you know when you're on the street, like you'll recognize someone else who's parking illegally, mainly because they're probably doing it in the moment. But you know what I'm talking about, Tom. That's kind of what I picked up on this.
Okay, that's fair. We do get like the episode title in here, right, where he talks about the whitewashed tombs, or like the tomb looking good on the outside or whatever, but then full of dead bones on the inside. Like, I liked all the cryptic speak, saying like your hate is your food. Like, it was great. But then Dave does come back and says like, hey, listen, I didn't kill anybody. I'm not an arsonist. So boom, case closed, right?
Yeah, no. Once again, this is the show like taking it to the edge. Tiegi is like doing so much chin shaking and like, oh, this guy's like touching my soul. He knows me, like sort of acting. But then at the end, he recovers and he's like, because you think this is the moment where he's going to be like,
Crack,
we know each other. Like you and I are both arsonists and like tax evaders and bad parkers. But instead, he recovers and is like, I don't commit arson and I don't kill people. And so that's why once again, I don't know what the show is trying to do. Like, if Goodson isn't an arsonist, bad job on the show. If Goodson, what did I just say? If he is an arson, bad on the show. If he's not an arson, also bad on the show. Like, you can't have it both ways, show. Like, you got to give us something.
Yeah, I agree.
Goodson handles this interview quite well. He walks out with Calderon. They high five, and then he promptly throws up all over the hood of a car, and it was disgusting.
I love it. He's like, and it's such an aggressive vomit. Like he calls it bad Thai food, I guess. I don't know when he had Thai food. I guess after the morning show, he went and got Thai food for a little brunch.
In the span of 2 days, this guy has been like in a totaled car wreck with a fatality. He then did like a full day's investigating in which he was almost burnt alive and sprayed a dude. And then he went on national TV, and then a fellow arsonist, local TV, and then a fellow arsonist touched his soul during an interrogation. Like, that's a lot in the course of, I don't know, could be 12 hours, could be 4 months. This show doesn't really let us know.
Agreed.
This all leads to the literary agent, Amy from Veep, and Dave having lunch. And of course, who is in their earpiece but one Esposito, number one investigator for the Orrington PD, back on the force. I'm assuming he's getting some sort of consulting fee at this point. Like, this guy's spending a lot of time not making movies his main source of income. This is intercut with Calderon, who is obviously very suspicious of Goodson, going and visiting Ashley. And there have been clues throughout the episode of, you know, hey, they're not getting along. And so Calderon is, like, following the lead as to why Dave is not, like, staying at home. And there seems to be some domestic non-bliss happening. I appreciate that she ambushes Ashley with treadmills by unplugging each one. Like, that is a lot of forethought in order to get that person to be on the treadmill next to you.
That was my thought as well. Like, you know her exact routine. Okay, it's a Wednesday. She's got treadmill for 30 minutes first. Then she's going to hit the free weights. Like, it was just comically set up here, especially when there's even more machines like further down.
It would have been better if this was her normal like Pilates class. And when Ashley shows up, there's just like 2 mats in the middle of the floor and a bunch of people outside that all have been beaten up and so can't go into their Pilates class. So it's just the 2 of them. Also, Calderon's like, I'll be the substitute instructor. So let's just have a chat, you and I. Yeah. So here's what I discovered in this moment with the conversation between Ashley and Calderon. Is that, and I don't know how I missed it. I don't know if I'm just dumb or if the show did not do a good enough job. But essentially, when Ashley was yelling at Dave about like being wounded and like hurting Emmett, my understanding is now that Emmett read the book. There is the like narrative that Dave's character and Calderon's character are having an affair in the book. Emmett took that as real. That's why he went after Calderon. But then he obviously told his mom. And now his mom is taking this poorly written book and the narrative in it as that's what's actually happening. And so she thinks Dave is having an affair with Calderon, which I do appreciate the honesty where she's like, I'd cheat on me with you. which I thought was a funny line. But so that is where all of this angst from Ashley is coming from, because he wrote a fantasy in a book. That's what we're discovering.
I mean, I guess so. I think that makes more sense than what we kind of talked about last time of her just being a librarian and not liking the book enough. But yeah, I don't think the show did a good enough job of really setting that up. Like, we just didn't get much of Ashley and her like background and like through the conversations that she's had with Emmett.
Yeah, how hard is it to have her holding the transcript that says like "Smokehouse" by Dave Goodson, and then she like throws it and she's got tears streaming down her face,
right?
And she's like, and she says to camera, "I can't believe he'd cheat on me with Calderon." Like, that's all. That's the only scene I needed, and I was like, okay, this is why Ashley's now mad at Dave. I get it. Thank you, show. I love this line. Calderon looks Ashley dead in the eye, and she says, "I think your husband is a criminal. Do you think, like, what do you think he's capable of?" And Ashley goes, "Anything." Like, that's pretty brutal that you're a spouse married to someone for several years and you're like, oh, this person I'm married to could kill, murder, do anything, and I would believe them capable of it. That's insane. Like, why?
It does seem a bit aggressive. Yeah, you figure you might have gotten out of this relationship. And they have a good dialogue, like, kind of goes back and forth about, like, yeah, do you stay in, like, a bad marriage just so you're not, like, lonely or whatever? And there's some interesting dialogue between both of them. But, again, I just don't think we've gotten enough from Ashley to have a lot of this stuff feel quite as earned.
We also find out that Dave apparently did not reveal he'd been married twice prior, which the math was always a little bit shaky for me, because he said, I've got like 2 ex-wives, or I thought he said he's had like 2 wives. So I was confused. But in this moment, Calderon lets the cat out of the bag. So we know about Reba, who returns to us in this episode, but we don't know about the other one.
Yeah, and I don't, like, why bring it back up, like, outside of just, like, the lack of trust, I guess, between Dave and Ashley? Like, I don't understand why they bring it back up, like, and not mention who this other ex-wife is. Like, do you think it's going to play in and it's going to be some other character, or it's going to be, I don't know, the person that Freddie was saying, like, that kind of messed you up? Maybe it wasn't his mother. Maybe it was his first wife. Like, it just seems weird to bring it back up.
I agree. I'm assuming that second ex-wife is the arsonist that's just been following Dave around and lighting things on fire. So,
okay.
At this point, I think I've predicted 5 different people are the arsonists. So,
hey, predict enough, you're going to be right, buddy.
Listen, unless it's Dave, I'm dead wrong if it's Dave. So, we're in trouble. I love the line where Ash is like, "I've only seen Dave light a campfire." I was like, oh, that's kind of funny.
That's a good line.
And
I do want to call out, too, well, they had this conversation about, like, Dave seeing his reflection in the mirror and he wasn't smiling, or her seeing his reflection, like, not smiling and him being two-faced. It goes back to that conversation that she had with Emmett, right? They were at, like, the dinner table. He's like, hey, why is Dad, like, a jerk and two-faced? Well, he's like, well, he's not a jerk. And she purposely didn't respond by saying your dad is not two-faced, or your stepdad is. So clearly, like, I like how they kind of, like, held that on and resurfaced it here.
And we have seen that in T. Eggie's performance. We have seen him go from, like, super nice guy to maniac, which is making a lot more sense. And I guess he is just a genius actor, because he's just doing an incredible job being a two-face.
Yeah, nailing it.
The only other pertinent detail I felt was important to this conversation was there is a... not really an implication, it's straight up, but I'm choosing my words carefully, where an intimate moment was asked of that would be rough, and Dave wanted to film it, and he also wanted it to happen in a burning building, which...
It's a lot.
That is a lot. I mean, just from, like, a production standpoint and, like, logistically, like... I was going to say who's filming, but I think we find out later who was filming, or at least who he had the idea for. So this all took a really weird turn, where it's like, all right, show, you've done some weird stuff, but this is real weird.
To me, it's like the Freddy stuff. Like, it just goes so far into this deep end stuff that, again, the show wants to be a prestige television show as opposed to just being what it is, which is kind of like a goofy drama.
Right. Exactly. The conversation with Ashley and Calderon is intercut with the lunch. And so also the lunch, we get this like montage of Dave having two spoons, like doing a Star Wars fight, like when they're trying to get out of Iran and Argo. But Dave's like regaling these women with tales of his book. And his ultimate reveal is like, hey, the character in this book, he is smarter than everyone else. And that's why he's like both the investigator and setting the fire. He's just trying to get back at people for wronging him. We get some like white guy privilege conversation here that the literary agent can't let go. I found all of this funny, but then Esposito in the earpiece being like, she blew it, he's on to us. I was like, wait, what? What's going on here? Like, why? I don't know. Ultimately, that's why you don't send a literary agent in to be a government sting. You know, they're just not trained for that. Negotiations, yes, but like interrogating someone in disguise, no.
Yeah, especially too as like again, I don't know her character's name is. We'll call it Amy from Veep. But like she goes in here, she's just like an ATF agent. Like her doing this like undercover work doesn't seem like the MO of a normal ATF agent. But again, I don't know. I'm not one. But yeah, we get this. This is again just reiterating the whole concept of Dave in his book, saying like he's superior, and then wants to like punish those that reject him. Like, okay, got it, Joe. Like, yep, just a crazy person that thinks he's better than everybody and needs to punish everybody for whatever sick reasons he has.
Right, right. But is he really an arsonist real life? That's the question, and they don't get it on tape because he spots the tail and he backs out, and this leads to Esposito and Calderon, like in a back alley, all of a sudden, like yelling at each other, and we find out that Calderon like reveals what Ashley told her about Dave and their proclivities and wanting to film it, and Esposito's like, "Oh yeah, I've got two tapes on file."
Wild,
just absolutely wild. Like, are they on DVD? Are they like what are we? Are they on a hard drive? Are they on VHS, Tom? I just want to know the format. You know,
there was a moment when Calderon was like in his I was going to call it house, but it's not a house, right? It was like his trailer and was like watching a film. Didn't he like say something about like not snooping around or like just look at this file? Like I felt like there was maybe even like a call back then about him having these things and not wanting her to see it. But at this point in the investigation, you figure this would have been pertinent.
Right. And then we find out that this was with Reba and that she was into it, that this was not something that Dave was pushing, that it was. And so this leads Calderon to go. Honestly, Tom, I find myself Reba as a character very fascinating. Like how this ends and this conversation with Calderon and her like essentially protecting Dave, even though he thinks he's garbage. I think all of this is interesting. But
yes, I was not expecting this for sure.
Right. So Reba like talking to Calderon. Calderon uses like some of the same language that Ashley uses in order to try and like get some stuff out of Reba. Reba apparently sees right through it. She like speaks well of Dave, admits she's the one that cheated on him, and then this leads to the call later where she's warning him. I thought all of this was like very interesting.
Yeah, it was interesting from like Calderon's perspective too, because she, I think, essentially let a little bit too much out of the bag in terms of like, oh, is this the kind of relationship, this two-faced relationship that you had with him? And she's like, oh no, he was lovely.
Right.
Right. It was very interesting to see her kind of covering for him, especially after the last conversation that she did have with Dave in that hotel room.
This leads to Dave's party, where he limps in and the whole football team starts to clap for him. And
I got questions about this. What is the party planning committee's budget for this precinct or this arson unit? Because there was like a balloon arch. They made like posters said Dave the Brave in the background. Like this was a lot.
The poster that said Dave the Brave. That's
Dave
awesome.
The Brave. Incredible.
Oh man, he's on fire. I don't know. This looked like it was like they just took over a dive bar. It's probably like a cop or firefighter bar, which those are probably not the same thing because they don't get along. Which doesn't make any sense because they're both trying to fight the same thing. Fire and people that set fires. I don't know. Anyways, I'm with you. It seemed over budget, but it also didn't seem like it seemed like one of those things where everyone's like, "Oh, let's go get drunk together," but no one really cared for Dave. Like,
yes.
Dave was kind of by himself. Ultimately, when he gets punched in the stomach, no one like really cares. They're just like, "Oh, that guy got punched in the stomach. I wonder when Dave the Brave's gonna show up." Like, I don't. Yeah. Anyways,
Agreed.
This all leads to the. Here's what I didn't like, Tom. I watched the show with subtitles. When Reba calls Dave and they do the close up on her mouth, typically subtitles will like fill in that gap because we're supposed to know what she's saying. I have no idea what she says. Subtitles didn't tell me. They clearly don't want us to know, but it's essentially like him looking at all of the dream team in the bar. Calderon's like dancing and he's just like staring her down. There's Chief. I keep wanting to call him Chief Wiggum, but it's Chief Kinnear. And so ultimately, Reba is helping this guy out in some way, and we don't really know why.
Yeah, again, I don't understand. I'm interested in it. I think this is kind of a fun little twist if she kind of becomes more of the picture here as opposed to just an ex-wife that was having the affair. So I liked it. I liked this a little bit. I thought it was fun. And a fun way to get Dave to kind of then throw suspicion and then, have this kind of falling out with, I guess, the whole group. Yeah.
Well... I thought this twist was interesting to show that there are people in Dave's life that actually like care about him, or like what is Reba's motivation to cover for him.
Right.
And for some reason I wrote in the outline that Reba is the best ex-wife a man can have, which I was probably like 4 bourbons in at that time, but I don't know if I truly believe that, but she's definitely covering for him. So now that Dave knows this, he starts to harass Steve, and he like knows about the Calderon and Steve relationship, and he's like, "Oh, is it a father-daughter thing?" He's just like poking the bear until he gets punched in the stomach.
I do like the line that Steve like goes hard at him. It's like, "Listen, I'm everything you wish you were." Like I thought that was great, and like the more we see of this dynamic, and Steve. I know he's still a jerk, but the way he was like having the conversations with Calder in the beginning, like maybe he isn't as bad of a guy, but I love him like just egging on Dave here.
Right. This leads to in the street, the very sad confrontation between Dave and his only friend, Chief Wiggum Kinnear.
And like I had to rewind this a couple times because I didn't understand this line where he says, "I thought we were pals." I feel like that didn't read very well on screen. I don't know if you had the same take to that, but clearly he knows, and Chief says as much to everybody else.
Yeah, I think it's just like, hey, you didn't stand up for me when that big cop punched me in the belly. You're not coming to my birthday party anymore, Chief. But when like Kinnear, when he delivers he knows. It's just such a great like, I don't know. I really appreciated just those 2 words. He knows. He knows we're onto him. Like something's happening here, and this leads to Dave driving like a maniac, losing the tracker, finding the lake house picture, and then seeing Amy of Veep and Esposito hanging out together. And now he knows he's been betrayed by his closest friends.
It was all just incredible. Like literally shaking the tracker by just driving like a madman and it just falling out was so funny. Him going to into Harvey's office and then stealing the lake house picture. I was like, oh, Julian was right. We're definitely going to get a lake house burning on fire. I loved it. And like the coincidence and timing of him just recklessly driving around town, him stopping at a stop sign and then seeing both Amy and Esposito just getting out of the building and like saying goodbye. Like it is, to me, again, it's just so sloppy and like it keeps me going back to like, is the show just wanting to play fast and loose? They don't really care about this, or is this like more writing and are we in a story? Like, because it just seemed so convenient for the plot.
Right. Yeah, my thought was something in the investigating in Chief's house led him to that address, and so.
But he didn't. All he took was a lake house picture. So like that is his thing to go forward. Like that's where he left.
Sure.
Yet he stumbles on this house that, like, that's what I thought at first. I'm like, he picked up this picture and maybe that's where Harvey had taken everybody to the lake house. But if that was a lake house with all this bricked out walls, I can't imagine it'd be a very fun lake house. No. And that's obviously not where we see Esposito and Amy get out.
Right, and there's also no lake.
No. Well, there might be a small one in the back, like
sure,
a pond.
That's fair. A pond. It's a pond house. I've always wanted to have a summer pond house. All right. This leads to the traumatic end scene that we've already talked about, and I don't know that we need to dwell on it. It's like well shot, it's dramatic, it's heartbreaking. You know, Freddy was a good character, ultimately a murderer, so I'm not like terribly sad. But this just belonged in a different show, and like we could have just sent him to jail. We didn't need him to.
I agreed. Like they felt like they needed to button up his story, but like I think it was done. I don't think he needed it.
Yeah. Anyways. Tom, I'm still excited. We have 2 more episodes. I just want to know whether or not Goodson's an arsonist. That's all.
Okay.
And whether or not the show, is flying too close to the sun, or whether or not he's gonna, be someone that sets things on fire like the sun.
Yeah. Will it crash and burn? That is the big question. Because we're going to the penultimate. I'm still like. It's hard to say whether I'm having fun. Like, I enjoy talking through this with you because I think it is more fun to kind of maybe poke fun at a little bit, but I still think overall it's a fun show. But I just don't know what, and I'm really hoping for some kind of like just fun, funky twist here at the end, but we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah. Well, for those of you that have stuck with us, please reach out to us at teambingepodcast@gmail.com. We'd love to know your theories, your thoughts. If you've discovered something that we've missed, we're always open to those types of things. If you've watched the finale, don't tell us how it ends. We'll get to it when we get to it. Tom, what else did I forget?
Yes, please follow us on the social medias at Team Binge or at Team Binge Podcast. We're on Twitter, we're on Threads, we're on Blue Sky, Instagram, all the fun ones. I do want to give a shout out to a handful of people that I had requested online to drop us a review, and if you did, we would read them on pod. So thank you to NJ Media Guy, who said, Tom and Julian are a blast as they recap each bonkers episode, insightful and relatable, listening to their deep dive into what drives the characters and forecast of the story's arcs makes the morning commute a breeze. It's just plain fun. So thank you, NJ Media Guy. We appreciate it. So keep those reviews coming, and we'll get them read on pod.
Well, that was very nice of him. That was very, or her, I guess.
Your check is in the mail, NJ Media Guy.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, it's the guy is in the name. So, anyways, for Team Binge, I have been Julian,
and I have been Tom. Till next week, everybody.